world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves. That's what I do. When they hate, I create.
Welcome everyone to Pounder's Quest. We are live right now, and we are talking about some of the craziest subjects in the world. And look, before anybody comments, these glasses not only are cool, I know you guys are thinking, man, those are cool glasses, but they're also functional as blue light blockers for all the blue lights that I have surrounding me, including all of my screens. I binge watched a couple episodes where I saw Dr. Jack Cruz talking about blue light and that technology, and wow, it changed my perspective. And so I'm trying to stay away from the blue light, and this blocks that blue light. So that's why I'm wearing these glasses right now. So just in case you're wondering, tonight's broadcast, this is something that I've been talking about for a while, but there are two new things that I have not brought to the table or talked about that I have just come to light for me. They've just come to light, and I've seen some things that I think are super crazy interesting. I've been intrigued by this whole time travel idea and related especially to Trump in general for quite a while. In fact, I've done several different series on this when I did some shows for the Midnight Ride. We're talking about the Golden Age, talking about 2025 and the connections to all of this and theosophy, the Trump Cipher, which just talks about all of the weird connections with Trump, Baron Trump time travel book, and all of the there's a bunch of strange connections, a ton. Some of them I'll be discussing a little bit about some of that tonight, but also the Stargate, when they did the Operation Stargate, they enacted that with all of these AI and tech companies, and so how all of that stuff intertwines. And to me, this is just amazingly interesting. And as always, I present all this stuff as my opinion, and this is for entertainment purposes only. All of this stuff that is uncovered and talked about tonight, it's just, to me, is just amazingly interesting and something to look at and consider, because for some reason, all this information is out there. This is not, this is speculative, but yet there's information out there to suggest that there is something here, if that makes sense. So we're going to discuss those things and talk about that tonight, and hopefully you guys are excited about that as I am. So hopefully you got your coffee and popcorn or whatever it is you got going on tonight. So if you're here with us live, let me know in the chat how you guys are doing and what you got, where you guys are from, what the weather's like, whatever you want to tell me. I go through the chat later on after the replay and check it out. I don't usually get a chance to check out a lot of the chat while I'm doing the show until after, when I do a Q&A, and I may do a Q&A tonight depending on how many questions there are in the chat, so stay tuned for that. Now I'm going to be presenting a lot of information tonight that is, to me, is mind-blowing, but it's also a lot, and there's going to be stuff that, there's rabbit holes almost on every one of these things that you can go down, that I'm going to show you a few of these rabbit holes. I'm not going to go all the way down them for this broadcast. I might do it for future broadcasts, because I found some stuff in there that really tickles my fancy, I guess, as you could call it. I look at it and I'm like, this is something that I want to investigate much, much further. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. So the first thing, let me tell you a couple of the things that I'm going to be discussing that are new to the table. One of these things is this artwork that has been found that we're going to talk about, look into it a little bit. But there's also this book written by Leslie Epstein that is called King of the Jews, that has a character in it called Trumpelman, and we're going to talk about that too. And there's more weird connections in that than I first realized. The first chapter is titled Golden Age, but there's just so many things, and that I'm going to talk about that towards the end. But first, I want to talk about this. This is something that a lot of people have been noticing lately. There's these drawings that have been found by this guy named Charles Dellschau, I believe is how you pronounce his name. But I'm not going to play the audio for this video, but you can just kind of see that there's been documentaries done about this guy. A lot of stuff about him that is intriguing, to say the least. At first you look at him, he's from Houston, Texas, originally Prussian, comes over and he starts drawing all these things, creating all of these arrow type drawings of these interesting, I mean, beautiful style drawings. But then come to find out, I see that this guy is actually a part of a secret society in Sonora. He goes to Sonora and becomes a part of this secret society that is like deeply committed towards these breakaway civilizations. It's really, really interesting, the stuff. But he has other drawings that I'm going to show you guys that mention Trump as well in here. And like this one I just showed you. And then there's numbers like this you'll find like 45, and some of them you'll find 47. There's actually one of these drawings that is in that video that I have there, and I kept the title of the video on there so you guys could hunt it down and find it if you wanted to. But there's this one where he has this visitation of this angel of type sorts, of this supernatural type being, and you'll see the number 47 on there. It's wild, man. I don't know what to say about it other than interesting, to say the very least. Also, let me go back here real quick. So on this too, there's also this guy, I put this arrow, that looks like he has like this blonde hair flying this craft here. So what do we make of that? Not 100% sure. But this is another one here. This is like the left and right side of the page. It says Trump down here, Trump up here. This one you'll have the 45, and you have different figures. I couldn't read a lot of the different stuff, but if you go through, there's a website devoted to a lot of this artwork that he has, and you'll see these flying machines in these artworks. There's another one that has tons of different writing in it that I can't process, can't really see. So such a small writing for me, but there's other stuff in there. And there's another gentleman that went down a rabbit hole that this is one of those rabbit holes I'm saying you can go down these rabbit holes that he went down that discusses some of this weird coincidences of this Sedona secret society. But they're talking about these airship technology, possibly the Bell that we all see, the old UFO Bell, and that this group NIMSA had some kind of part in that had to do with this secret society organization, and they were the ones who were like the Russians, or I'm sorry, they're not the Russians, but the Germans post World War II that created breakaways. And he even ties them to some of the German civilizations that you'll find down in like Argentina and South America. And I don't know how many of you guys saw it was like a series, but it was like a documentary type series called Hunting Hitler, where they went, I think Tim Kennedy was on it, a few other people. They went down there and they found this German town where people still only spoke German all the way down there in this area. So you have these deep rabbit holes that have to do with this guy, this Prussian nationalist cabal, which is supposedly where he's from. This is very, very interesting to me. Country Lover, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope that it multiplies for you and for me as well. Thank you for that. And so let's check this out here. So this is not to mention all of the interesting ties with John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle, who had the top secret papers in 1943. That was the one who was able to review the information after Tesla's death. And he was one of the pioneers in particle acceleration, which would be what would have to do with time travel and things along those lines. And it's just it's just strange that you see Donald Trump now, he's connected to the founder of the Tesla organization, and the Tesla organization, Elon Musk, there's the Werner von Braun, who was one of the kind of breakaway civilization guys that came over to America with Operation Paperclip, wrote a book about Mars, and Elon was the guy who was in the charge, like kind of like the ambassador to Mars. And then I remember in 2025, we saw the Trump talking about Elon going to Mars, and Elon making it one of his top priorities to go to Mars. It's like all of these weird things just keep getting compiled one on top of another. And then we 2025 was, all of these people were actually deeply tied into the guy in the video that I showed you there before, is also deeply tied in to, theosophy. So these groups are all tied into theosophy. And if you remember in 2025, this was, if you saw any of those videos I did before, and if not, I'll explain it to you. But according to the theosophists, 2025 was the year when the externalization of the hierarchy was supposed to be made known to everyone, and we're supposed to see this giant shift in how power is played and how things are going. And there's just so many tie-ins with that. And then we have the Ingersoll Lockwood book, the Baron Trump novels of the 1890s. This is very, very interesting. For those of you who have not heard about it, I'll explain a little bit. But there's these collections of books written by Ingersoll Lockwood, and Ingersoll Lockwood is a very interesting character. I do suggest any of those broadcasts that you saw at the beginning, you can go to Now You See TV and you can search those titles on there and see all kinds of stuff about that. But there's tons of people that have done videos on it. I mean, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you'll see tons of videos that give you the gist of what we're talking about here. But this wealthy boy that grew up in Trump Castle, he had a mentor named Don, who was short for Donald. Don Fum was his name. And then they had a cabinet member named Pence in the last president. You've heard Trump talk all the time about you won't have to vote again. There's all of this stuff that just seems to be tied in together. And if not time travel, then I don't know what is something that has been, it seems like for of over 100 years now, at least, we've had this integration of Trump into our system through even old artwork, even it looks like now, to the point of we have old books that have what looks like some of the stuff that we're seeing today play out. And I mean, it gets crazier, just bear with me. But and I'm aware that third dimension human beings, or beings, not human beings, but some kind of beings like demonic entities maybe, or angelic entities, might have this technology to be able to shift timelines and go back somewhere different. I was listening to this interview where Donald Trump was talking with Jake Paul, and Jake Paul asked him this question. He said, who would you come back as if you can come back as anybody and go back in time? And he gave this he's like, that's an interesting question. And then he said, I'd come back as Donald Trump. And it just struck me as odd. I don't know why. Maybe it meant nothing, but there's times when I remember playing a video on one of the midnight rides that we did where you would hear Donald Trump's voice calling in to like ABC News or something. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but talking about 9/11 before it happened, just weird stuff like that. And the connection to the time traveler that would call in to coast all the time. There's just these weird coincidences that make me wonder. And then even in the Epstein files recently, there's files where they talk about looking glass, where people going back and looking back to 2012 and trying to fix the situation. There's been tons of people who claim to be able to travel in time, at least in their mind, to where they're remote viewing different time periods where they can't go forward any further. They can't affect anything any further than a certain year. And when they go back, it's like 2020, there's some kind of shift that happens in the timeline. Like they are saying that the calendar, the Aztec calendar, the Mayan calendar, something did happen that year. Like there was 2 different timeline shifts that take place. And some people even theorize that Donald Trump is like this time warrior. And I remember him saying in some kind of interview, like, I don't know why these time travelers keep trying to kill me. And that's what a strange thing to say. Also, the connection with him and Biff from Back to the Future, that can't be missed. And then Donnie Darko, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it just keeps on going and going. And then we have what I really think is developing more and more interestingly. Let's put it this way. There's probably going to be more and more interesting stuff come out about this. I really think that there are interesting stuff. And I want to say here that, as I said before, I am speaking only opinion. I'm presenting interesting information that I see in front of me. And this is for entertainment purposes only. So if I'm presenting information that's not supposed to be shared to the entire world, to me, it doesn't look classified or anything along those lines. It looks like public information. So to me, it's just entertainment. So there you go. There's my disclaimer for this information. So this book was called King of the Jews. It was written by a Leslie Epstein. And before I explain, I'm not actually even going to explain Leslie Epstein to you. I'm going to let this girl right here, Allie McForever, and I definitely suggest, and I don't do this for everybody, but I do this for people that really put their work in. And this girl, Allie McForever, put her work in doing some research on this Leslie Epstein. And so we're going to watch this video in its entirety. And another disclaimer, one more, you can never have enough these days. Entertainment purposes only. My opinion, this is her opinion. I don't necessarily agree with her opinion. She doesn't agree with my opinion. You guys don't all agree with my opinion. Probably not many people do, but it's all opinions here. Just disclaimer once again. But I think that we're going to watch this. I'm going to put my headphones on and check this out once again with you guys. But this, to me, is worth looking into even deeper and further. And we're going to go pretty deep with it already.
This is really weird. 2 days ago, a TikTok user named Dustin Goodroad made this video about this physical book that he had found called King of the Jews, a novel of the Holocaust by Leslie Epstein. The original TikToker is pointing at the striking coincidence that a book named King of the Jews was written by Epstein about a protagonist named Trumpelman. This book, set during the Holocaust, is about a con man who pretends to be a doctor, leaves the ghetto, and then returns to lead it. This is Leslie Epstein, the author of that book. He was summa cum laude at Yale and a Rhodes. This is really weird. 2 days ago, a TikTok user named about a protagonist named Trumpelman.
I just messed up the whole video. We're going to have to go back and I'm going to try to put it somewhere close to where it was.
It was written by Epstein
the guy looks about just a protagonist like Jeffrey,
named
though, huh?
Trumpelman. This book, set during the Holocaust, is about a con man who pretends to be a doctor, leaves the ghetto, and then returns to lead it. This is Leslie Epstein, the author of that book. He was summa cum laude at Yale and a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. From 1978, he taught a graduate creative writing class at Boston University. Some of his students went on to win Pulitzer Prizes. Epstein is one of the oldest Ashkenazi Jewish surnames. It derives from the small German town of Epstein in Hesse. These two men are identical. There is no denying that chin. Ashkenazi Jews emigrating to the United States used something called a Landsmannschaften, which was basically a mutual aid society, and they were organised by the town of origin. So if you were an Epstein from Epstein, you would join the Epstein Landmannschaft in New York. These societies provided loans, burial plots, jobs, and housing. It was a trust network. You showed up with the right name from the right town, and doors opened for you. No credentials required. The community vouched for its own. Leslie Epstein's father was Philip Epstein, and he had a twin named Julius. And these two men were screenwriters in early Hollywood. That's Howard Koch. The Epstein twins wrote Casablanca. This is one of the most effective pieces of wartime propaganda ever made. It's a film about a man who runs a nightclub. And the club is a hub where intelligence operatives, refugees fleeing war, and resistance fighters meet and mix. The owner, Rick, has access to everyone. He's apparently neutral. And maintaining that position of nightclub neutral.
I'm gonna say something because I don't think she mentions this in this video, but it's something that brings to mind. John Casablanca was the one who ran the modeling agency where Ivanka Trump, when she turned 16, became a part of it. This is where the whole supermodel thing came from. So John Casablanca had a role. He's the one who, I guess, had a role in this movie somehow. But that's interesting. I don't think she mentions that, but if not, I think it's worth mentioning.
Morality is what gives him power over all sides. Epstein ran properties. He had his New York townhouse, his Zorro Ranch, and his Little James Island. These properties functioned as hubs where intelligence operatives, scientists, politicians, academics, and compromised individuals could all mix together. He's been seen with everyone from the Queen of England to Mother Teresa to the Prime Minister of Israel to US presidents. And in those circles, he maintained a position of apparent neutrality. Rick's Cafe describes the Epstein operation in 1942. Put these men beside each other and you tell me, do you see a family resemblance here? Let me tell you about the weird timeline. Shortly before the war, the United States government created the House of Un-American Activities Committee. This committee was established to investigate alleged disloyalty and subversive activities, including communist ties among private citizens. It became infamous for its investigations into Hollywood. The options facing anyone named by HUAC were brutal. In 1951, one of the committee's first witnesses, the actor Larry Parks, pleaded, "Don't present me with the choice of either being in contempt of this committee and going to jail, or forcing me to really crawl through the mud and be an informer." If you watched my video last week about a NOC, I explained that it is an intelligence acronym that stands for non-official cover. Official cover are those who hold diplomatic passports. If they accidentally get arrested, they have diplomatic immunity. But a NOC, a non-official, that's deep cover. They can never admit.
So pay attention here, because this could be uncovering a lot of the network that we're seeing here. This could be something that is deeper than we even understand, like just by uncover this. Also, I want to give a shout out real quickly to Sheila Hecox. Thank you so much. I love you too. Thank you. It means a lot. And I also want to give a shout out to Kim Pratt. Thank you so much. Bless you as well. And we're going to move on here. Also, Jason Casper, man, blessings. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow. Blessings. Bless you in Yeshua's name as well. Thank you. So here we go, guys.
Their connections to the agency. If they get arrested, if they get caught, they have to go to jail. After being called in front of this committee, Parks was blacklisted completely. He could not work in Hollywood again. In 1952, Jack Warner, one of the original Warner brothers, gave Philip Epstein's name to the HUAC. His explanation was, those boys are always on the side of the underdog, but that glosses over the fact that the people he named were all people he was in contractual disputes with. Less than a month after being asked to testify at this House committee, Philip Epstein dies randomly, and there's very little information about what happened. Some unverified online sources say that he got sick or that he got cancer, but no one ever checked the death cert. Somebody in California could go today and pay the $30 and get the death cert, and we could find out what it says. Given the hugeness of the Epstein case, it's amazing that nobody's done that. Possibly because they haven't yet connected these jawlines to each other. But I think we should find out what happened to Philip Epstein, because that's in 1952, right? Flip over to the East Coast, and a man who zero photographs exist of, named Seymour Epstein, marries a woman named Paula. Less than a couple of months after Philip Epstein dies, Seymour Epstein gets married in New York. Seymour Epstein is a person that did exist, and in 1941, they joined the army. Then there is an 11-year gap in any kind of public records to say that this person existed. He does not show back up on any records from 1941 to 1952 on the marriage certificate. That is a very odd anomaly. Paper tripping is a documented...
So just to break that down, so the year that when the other Epstein died over there in Hollywood, died, quote unquote, this is what she's saying, then another one that had been off the paper trail for 11 years over at war or something, all of a sudden he pops up somebody pops up over there 11 years later and gets married, and right there around that same time. So that's really interesting. So here we go.
Intelligence technique, where a dead person's identity is repurposed for an undercover officer. The fact that Seymour Epstein went into the United States Army in 1941, just before the war, and is not seen on paper again until 1952, when he marries Paula, might suggest a repurposed identity. Do you think that these two men look like brothers with this as the father, or am I just being a conspiracy theorist? Let's go back to Casablanca for a second.
They look the same
During
a little
the
bit.
filming of this movie, the OSS was physically in Casablanca. The OSS is the Office of Strategic Services. This was the wartime precursor to the CIA. If you've been keeping up on Epstein lore, you'll know he got his job in the Dalton School from Donald Barr. Donald Barr was an OSS officer. Warner Brothers is believed to have rushed the premiere of Casablanca to align with headlines on Operation Torch, a real war exercise. Then, the general release of this film was timed for January 1943, and it just happened to coincide with the Casablanca conference, where Roosevelt and Churchill met in Casablanca to plan the next phase of the war. This movie was not a representation of war. It was the war. Literally, the extras in the famous La Marseillaise scene, where the Café Patreons drown out the officers singing, were actual Jewish refugees. Many of them in this scene are crying real tears because they are singing their national anthem in exile. Let's go back to this weird book that started it all. I See Trumpelman, written in 1979 by an Epstein. Here is the character description, word for word, from the publisher. A man whose fancy determines the fate of others, check. Thrives on the power granted to him, check. Creates an authoritarian regime of his own, check. By turns a con man, charismatic leader, and merciless dictator, check, check, check. The character's name is Trumpelman. The book is named King of the Jews.
Interestingly enough, in the book, he also builds, like rebuilds buildings kind of after himself, names them after himself and stuff in this book.
In August 2019, Trump quoted a conspiracy theorist who called him the King of Israel and said the Jewish people love him like he is the second coming of God. Is that a coincidence of language? Those are the exact phrases from this book. Donald Barr, the OSS officer who hired Epstein at Dalton, he also wrote a kind of weird book. His book is science fiction where a human diplomat becomes entangled with a feudal oligarchy that owns and enslaves human captives. So the guy, the spy who gave Epstein his start, wrote a book about an aristocratic network that uses slavery for political power. Tell me in the comments, what do you think the intelligence purpose of these weird books actually is? Do you think Epstein was a lone node or part of a bigger family dynasty?
Interesting stuff, man. She deserves a sub for that at least. Let her know that I sent you guys over there. I'd actually like to interview her or someone associated. I actually did some digging deeper here and found an old TED interview. I'm not going to play this TED talk, but this is Epstein right here. This is Leslie Epstein talking about Warner and talking about that. So I just went and I started watching that, and he had other interviews where people were actually interviewing him, talking about this stuff. Is pretty interesting. Not necessarily about this stuff, but about some of his works and his books. And there's some of them are very old. Freedom, free indeed. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for, and I'm excited to see you in Springfield. Thank you. That's another thing that before I move on to this next part here that I think is interesting as well. I just want to say that I am going to be doing a conference in Springfield called the Remnant Rising 2.0. The link is in the description here, and a couple of the guests that you've seen on here and some of the guests that I'll be having in the future will be there as well, so we'll get to meet and hang out. I'm super excited about it. I think it's like almost sold out already, so if you're wanting to go to that, definitely check it out. Also, Faithfluence in Owensboro, Kentucky. So if you're closer to Kentucky, this is going to be a good small, not huge conference, but smaller conference. So it'll be more people will get a chance to actually meet and hang out. And that's the whole point of it, to network and stuff along those lines. So check that out. Also, affiliate tonight, Nano Extreme Pain Cream. If you were in pain, you need to check this out. This is the best pain cream on the market, hands down. It's the only pain cream in the market that goes through all 7 layers of your skin. And there are coupon codes in the bottom. You can use one or the other. Check that out. You got nothing to lose but pain. Hundreds of you guys have already tried it. Thank you so much. And so anyways, let's continue. So another thing I found here interesting, you know me, well, maybe you don't, but if you don't know me, hit the sub button. Hopefully we'll get to know each other. But you know me, I like to break down names. I like to look at some of the stuff that people put as names. And I thought this was very interesting. So IC is the abbreviation, which means Jesus in Greek is the first letter of this, and just IC, you usually see that, or XC, and this is what that stands for. If you look that up, you'll see that that's what that stands for. And then Trump, the name Trump, the word Trump means ranked above all others, even in person, in card games, etc. It is the highest rank of a person can be. And then L means God, or lowercase, higher uppercase God in some instances in the Bible, lowercase God, which means like the gods who are over the nations, like the angels specifically, and also mighty ones. So we have Christ, Trump, like the man, Trump, God man. So this is really interesting in nameplay. If it means anything at all, it might not mean anything. Could just be pure speculation, entertainment once again. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that I thought that was interesting. But these are all interesting rabbit holes to go down if you want to really go down it. But there's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump is a unique individual. I don't pretend to understand about him what his role is, but I will tell you that I've looked at a lot of different people over the last decade and just reviewed different interesting coincidences surrounding their life and what they've done. And by far, I would say that Donald Trump exceeds most in weird, strange coincidences that lead me to believe that there's something more than manly about him, more than just a man, like almost like he either has access to information we don't have, or he has like the ability to understand some types of magic we don't understand, or he's like part another entity. I don't really know. There's a lot of ties to Apollo. I've talked about that in some of the shows there. People that I know that have met Trump say he's a great guy. There's a lot of good things about him. So I'm not trying to pronounce judgment one way or another. I'm not trying to make you sway you to think one way or another on anything. This is, like I said, for entertainment purposes. But guys, this is interesting stuff to really consider in light of everything going on right now. We have the disclosure events that are getting ready to take place. Those things, when I say they're getting ready to take place, people are talking about that they might take place if they, if they do, who knows what they're going to say. But I have noticed, being within, I guess, YouTube and knowing a lot of the people that are in the UFO movement, I guess, influencers, etc., that there is kind of a battle for how people see these entities when they hit the scene. That tells me that we really need to pay attention to what the Spirit is telling us, the Spirit of God. And I think that if you're not a believer, then I would say that this is time to start seeking that out, really seek God and see what he would have for you. I'm not here to tell you how to believe, but I will tell you that God says that if you seek him, you will find him, because he will seek him with your whole heart. He will reveal himself to you. And this is something that I think that is our duty here on earth, to figure out why we're here, who put us here, etc. This is something that we should have a drive within our soul to figure out if we can. And I don't think any one man can give us all of the information, but I do think that there is true information out there if we seek it, and I think we'll find it. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now that I think is obviously is going to be, we're at war right now. So when you're at war and possibly World War III is kicking off, you're not going to have the truth in your news. It would be common sense to believe that a lot of it would be propagandized purposely for deceiving the other team, the other side, also for rallying support from our side. And so we have to, think about that when we're watching it. And my goal in all of this, like what I do, and I don't know about you guys, how you deal with this and how you look at it, but when I look at it, I try to look at it through the perspective of, okay, like there's a message here, but there's like an overall arching message. There's like an overall agenda. And so how does this fit into the agenda? And then you see a lot of people getting divided, and you're like, okay, I see how that works as part of the agenda, because it's causing a great division amongst all kinds of people. There's like hate being driven towards this side or towards this side. And I think it's, for me, I don't want to get in the middle of that, because I don't know where it's going. Plus, I don't, from my limited perception of things, from only being able to watch and perceive what I'm actually able to get my hands on and see, I see confusion. I see chaos. I see that there probably is no right way to look at this just by what I'm able to perceive. The only thing that I can imagine, that I've been right about a lot over and over again, I've been right about the agenda. This time, I'm recognizing that there is an operation going on here, and I'm choosing to keep my opinion from what's actually going on. But I do think I know what's going on. But I'm choosing to, instead of what I did in 2020 is getting involved in the opinion, getting involved in all that, I'm going to say that I think biblically we can find out exactly what's going on over here. If we look at the overall agenda in general, like you can see that it's stacking towards something new coming. There's like a new government, a new age, a new group of people, a new concept, a new religion, a new technology. Everything is this new golden age. And so what does that mean? Does it mean the end times? I don't know, but it is interesting. It's something that we haven't seen before, that I've never seen before. I don't think any of us alive have ever seen anything like what we're witnessing right now. So I try to remain positive through it. I do think that there's going to be some hard times for people. I do think that that's a possibility, especially considering all of the adoptions of new, because there's a group that doesn't want anything new happening. They're content in the way that the world is operating. So there's a struggle. And like these world powers right now, we got to remember that there are, I believe this, I believe this wholeheartedly. Can I prove it? No. Is it 100%, anything that anybody can prove? Probably not. But I think that there are actually entities and controls of these different regions. And right now I think there's a consolidation going to where all of these entities are getting directed to fall underneath the power of one. I think that you see that take place in numbers of mythologies, numbers of scriptures, where the whole world unites underneath one banner to form this one world system that is able to dominate. And so it looks like that's happening to me. It looks like a controlled demolition of the former. And I'm hoping that, and I'm praying, pray this with me, hopefully we can have a time of prosperous time for at least a little while for the people to prepare, for God's people to prepare for what's coming, because who knows what this actually might be. But guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here and being here with me tonight. I know you could be doing anything, but you're here. So if you haven't subbed, pound the sub button and pound the like button with me. We're going to do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Pound. Your pound button should look smashed. Thank you guys so much for coming on here. I'll be with you guys Thursday. And then the week after, I'm going to be doing more guests. I'm going to pop some more guests on. I'm going to go back through, get some of the guests that you guys have requested, do my best to anyway. Anytime that you think that I should interview somebody, tag me, tag them, let them know, have them email me, whatever. I'm trying to reach out, branch out to as many people as that I possibly can. And for all of you that super chatted tonight too, thank you so much. And for those of you that like to help with anything else, there's links in the description. Check out those, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. And man, as always, let's just keep questing and let's find our way to the bottom of all of this. Thank you.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves.